But I think one of the things that comes across on air with you is you're very passionate and you really like what you're doing, as opposed to some other people that are just in it for money or for the wrong reasons.
The money's nice. I'm not complaining. I wasn't a rich Republican when I started. Now I'm a rich conservative. So.
And I thought you would say that Obama's taking away most of your money.
Yeah, listen, my accountant came up to New York over Christmas and he said, "Whatever you do, don't die in New York." And I said, "I'll do my very best. I'll try."
Why don't you do like Rush, get a Florida residency? You don't have to.
I already have it, but I can't.
You don't have to pay the. You don't have to pay the crazy New York income tax.
Well, New York is what, 9.5%, the top rate. And believe it or not, do you know New York has a 10% death tax on top of the federal nearly 50% death tax? So you pay taxes your entire life. And then these SOBs, they still want more. They want the gold out of your teeth. It's nuts.
But sure, tell me, you're very passionate on the air. When when you feel somebody's lying to you on the air, what do you feel like inside?
I don't want to hit them, but...
But you remain unemotionally attached? What's going through your mind? Because a lot of times on air, people say, you know what, you could see, you look uncomfortable when somebody is not only your point of view saying the opposite thing, but they're just coming up with something that's completely off, that has no basis.
I can't get angry on the air, where I've never lost my cool on the air, ever. It might seem like I'm angry, but it's really passion. Mm-hmm. Look, as a conservative, I feel so strongly that conservative solutions can save the country. I was the guy that was living paycheck to paycheck. I was the guy that was painting and hanging wallpaper and doing paneling and construction projects for my landlord so I could pay my rent. So I really identify very closely with the 50% of Americans that are struggling every single day, week, and month to pay their bills. I was there. And it's something that, as a conservative, I don't believe it's a zero-sum game. I don't think there's any limit to the amount of success that you can have in this country. And I think that government is the single biggest obstacle right now for people's success. I'll give you one example. You mentioned, Tamara, that I've done things with the military. That's one of the things I'm most proud of that I've had an opportunity to do in my profession. The second is that I noticed a while back, a number of years ago, that all these people in North Dakota were making insane salaries because of the Balkan oil fields. And I went on the air and I made a statement and I said, if I was out of work today, I'd pack my bags, I'd move to North Dakota, I'd bring extra parkers, because it's cold, and then I'd beg some oil executive to hire me. Because the average salary there for a truck driver that's moving materials or somebody that works in the oil fields, they're all making six-figure salaries. So if I didn't have opportunity, like 50 million Americans in poverty and 50 million Americans on food stamps, I just made a statement a number of times on the radio show that I would do it. A couple of months later, people started calling into my radio show and said, Hannity, I'm calling from North Dakota, I took your advice. I'm like, what do you mean? I moved to North Dakota. And then they tell these incredible stories how they were making $20,000 or $30,000 and now they're making $110,000. Wow. And then one guy calls in from Atlanta, I'll never forget this call, and he said, I was out of work for a year and I couldn't feed my family and I was miserable and I felt depressed and I wanted to kill myself and I moved to North Dakota because I heard you say that's what you would do on the radio. Wow. So I said, all right, there's something to this. So I institutionalized it by calling every oil company in North Dakota, in Louisiana, in Texas, and we ended up partnering with all these companies, and I put the CEOs of the companies on the radio show. They would tell everybody what jobs were available, everything from a receptionist to an oil field worker to a truck driver, how much it would pay, what the benefits were, what the career trajectory would be, and we got thousands of people jobs. So there's, you can do some good, but here's my point. I'm saying the government is the biggest interference. So think about this. Obama, the drilling that we have going on and the success is only on private land. Government contracts, licenses, the ability to drill on public lands has been reduced 50% under this president. That's government interfering. Think of the benefits of becoming energy independent. Every American that wants a job now is going to get a high-paying job in states all across the country. In the 48 states, you can drill off the coast of California, the East Coast, the Gulf of Mexico, the 48 states, and more in Alaska. We have more oil reserves than the entire Middle East combined. Enough for more than 100 years, according to the former CEO of Shell Oil. Then you add to that natural gas and fracking, and you can run cars on natural gas. You have cheap energy for the American people. You have jobs for all those people in poverty. You have all of the benefits for national security of not being dependent on Mideast oil, and we don't do it.
He wants us in poverty.
What's that, ma'am?
He wants us in poverty.
Well, I would argue the liberals do like people dependent on them. And I believe in the American people, and if you just let them free. It's interesting you say that, because my fundamental belief is this. Every one of us is created by God, and I don't really give a rip what your religion is. And the word education from the Latin is educare, to bring forth from within. And every person was born with some talent, some ability, and a good educational system and a good country is going to bring it out of them. But government interferes in every aspect of their lives with bureaucracy and regulation and taxation, and they make more people dependent on them, in part because they like to stay in power. I've noticed once people become congressman or senator or governor, they like to continue being called, yes, governor, yes, senator. You know, a bunch of people that like that power. So, anyway, government's an interference, I think, in people's lives.
Sean, I didn't realize you also were running one of the most important and large executive placement firms for the oil companies.
But I'm proud of that. When somebody called me and said that I changed the entire trajectory of their life because of something I said, why am I doing this? You know what? Shouldn't government be doing that, institutionalizing it on their own? So I kind of felt like government is never going to solve people's problems, but at least maybe I can help a few people that listen to my radio show, and it ended up being thousands. So I was pretty proud of that.